What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a simple way to work around the issue where your players are not coming back onto the field during a game in franchise mode in Madden 23 or in prior Maddens as well. Before I jump into that tip, I want to make sure that you guys know that this is not going to work in a user versus user game. This will only work if your opponent is a CPU. And I want to highlight a couple of things on the channel here. Number one, you'll now see some pictures popping up on the screen from my merch store. My merch store is now active. I'm actually really happy with the two designs that I've come up with, one being my YouTube logo and one being the Better to Be Lucky Than Good merch. I hope that you guys will at least take a look and give some consideration to potentially purchasing something there. I have everything on there from premium sweatshirts to regular sweatshirts down to t-shirts, premium t-shirts, duffel bags, gym bags, stickers, magnets, all those types of things. So I've already ordered a bunch of merch. I've ordered over $150 worth of this merch because I like the design so much, especially the Better to Be Lucky Than Good stuff. And I want to at least have like some magnets to be able to put up on my fridge and whatnot. And I hope that you guys will do the same or consider doing the same. It would help out the channel. Again, my Patreon is now active, so link is in the description for both of those things. If you want to financially support the channel, that would be fantastic. I do have a full-time job outside of this, and I would like to transition to be able to spend more time on these YouTube videos to help you guys out in whatever way I can, and your support in any way, leaving a like, commenting, subscribing, buying merch, subscribing to Patreon, all of that is going to help do that for the future of this channel. Without further ado, what I've done here, and this is not going to be a perfect simulation or representation of the issue we're talking about, is I've turned fatigue up to 100, and I'm going to jump into a game real quick to show you the tip that I want to talk about. First and foremost, however, I want to tell you about your auto sub sliders. Just really quickly stick with me for a moment, and I want to talk about why you're often seeing the issues that you are. The issue typically stems from the sub in and sub out number. At running back here, for example, which is the position I'm going to be testing, you will often experience the most issues. The reason you're experiencing issues most of the time, and I'm going to say most of the time because there are other issues that happen, is because your sub out and sub in numbers are too high. So what these numbers mean now in Madden is that the halfback sub out number, for example, means that a halfback will sub out when their stamina gets below 80, and they will not sub back in until their stamina gets to 89. So what that means, typically, if you're in season fatigue, if your player's fatigued already below an 89, for example, they're never going to come back onto the field because they're capped at whatever their in-season fatigue level is, and that's what causes most of the issues. So if you want to avoid these issues altogether, outside of the glitches that still happen within the game, which yes, they do still happen within the game, take these numbers down to 0 and 1. Now, yeah, you can play with these numbers. Like you can see a lot of them are at 60, 80, sometimes 60, 70 works, different things like that. You can take it all the way down to 0 and 1, and that means that your player is not going to sub out until their stamina reaches 0, which is never going to happen anyway. And that also basically means they'll sub right back in because their stamina only has to get to 1 in order for them to sub back in. I've never seen a player go below like 50 or even 25% stamina, so this will guarantee that your player stays on the field. However, I still want to teach you the in-game tip because despite having all of your auto subs set correctly, you may still, like me, run into issues where your players sub off of the field and don't come back into the game at random times and for random reasons. Despite having everything at 0 and 1, I have still seen it happen where my players sub off the field and don't come back in. So I wanted to make sure that I got this bit of information out of the way first, but if you are still experiencing the issue, no matter what, inside of a game, I do have at least one workaround you can try to help you get through that game that you're working on right then and there. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get the ball because like I said, I want to test out my running backs, and I'm going to specifically focus on Jerick McKinnon because I know he's in on a couple of different formations. So I'm going to go by formation, which will allow us to see fatigue levels on players anyway based on the colors that it will show popping up on the players. So we're going to go bunch halfback strong with the Jerick McKinnon at running back here, and we're going to just run him until he gets tired. I'll be back with you in a moment. All right, so in the same exact formation, it literally only took 2 plays for me to get him off the field at 100 fatigue slider. Isaiah Pacheco is now in the exact same formation for him. So what I could do is I could keep trying to run the ball, and this isn't going to be a perfect representation because I don't have any in-season fatigue because I started in Super Bowl week. What I could do is run the ball right now, and typically speaking, what you would want your player to do is get rested on the sideline, and then that player will come back into the game. Well, like I said, if you're experiencing the issue within the game where that player just simply will not come back onto the field, regardless of what you've tried, just simulate a play. Sometimes you'll run into the issue where you might need to simulate multiple plays. Sometimes you'll run into the issue where you might need to do this multiple times per game, but it will at least let you try to work through the issue. This will at least give you the opportunity to get your players back on the field. I literally actually just had an experience with one of my buddies playing an AFC playoff game where his players all subbed off of the field. We were talking about Najee Harris, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, all were off of the field for the Steelers, and we know that their depth isn't that good. So he was struggling to perform in that game because they just simply wouldn't come back into the game, and neither would TJ Watt. Well, all you have to do, like I said, is simulate a single play, and as you can see, Jerick McKinnon is right back onto the field, and I can guarantee you that this will work within your gameplay if you're having those fatigue issues, if those players have subbed off and won't come back onto the field. Like I said, sometimes it will require you to do this multiple times per game if you're experiencing these issues. Sometimes you might have to simulate a couple plays in a row, but nonetheless, you'll be able to get that player back onto the field 9 times out of 10 by just simply simulating a single play, and then that player comes back onto the field because it kind of tricks the fatigue system, and it kind of like resets your depth chart to allow that player to come back onto the field. Like I said, though, a lot of times those issues can be completely avoided by making sure that your auto subs are set in a specific way to prevent these players from subbing out. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt because you probably want your players to sub in. You probably want multiple running backs to be able to carry the ball. Well, what I've found is that the most efficient way to do that is to just simply put formation subs in for those specific players and allow those players the time and opportunity to have their own individual sets. Doing it through auto subs currently with progressive fatigue on is just not going to really be all that productive for you in the long run. It may be early in the season, but later on, it's just simply not going to do it for you. And finally, the other way to work around this is just by simply turning progressive fatigue completely off. This is always going to be set by default to be on within the game because it's one of their new features that they love to tout within franchise mode, even though it's not really implemented the way that it should be. And that is, like I said, progressive fatigue. You can just simply go to your menu and turn progressive fatigue on, and that is going to allow you to avoid a lot of these issues. Now, like I said, things will glitch regardless of the progressive fatigue, regardless of your auto subs. And that's why it's important for you to know that just simulating a play here or there could fix those problems in a game if you're experiencing the issue, regardless of all other factors. So with that being said, I do hope that you guys will leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and comment down below. Please go visit the links in the description to see my merch store, as well as potentially subscribing to my Patreon, all to help this channel grow and get more videos, more high quality content out to you guys. As always, I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you have a good one.